Welcome to the CE Pro podcast. I'm Executive Editor Arlen Schweiger. Civil unrest, supply chain chaos, and of course the pandemic. Those are what Nortek Control President and CEO Chris Larocca calls the triple storm hitting the market today. It's also why he's ready to put a bow on 2020 and head into 2021 with renewed energy. Larocca spoke with CE Pro's Jason Knott about Nortek Control's recent rebranding and why he advises integrators to focus on areas of the residential smart home market, security market, and smart analytics that can boost recurring revenue.
Hi, Jason Knott with CE Pro, and we are talking about the state of the market with the President and CEO of Nortek Control, Chris Larocca. Hi, Chris. How you doing?
Good, Jason. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for joining me. So before we dig into what's going on out there in the market, tell us a little bit about yourself. You started as the President and CEO at Nortek back in January. Give us a little bit of your background and what your impressions are of the market so far in the industry itself.
Sure, happy to. As you mentioned, I started with Nortek Control in January of this year. I'm an engineer by education. I started off my career with General Electric in the commercial industrial lighting space, and as that market evolved, after about a decade there, I moved into the compound semiconductor market to really focus in light-emitting diodes and really stayed in the high-tech space. From that period of time on, I was the chief operating officer for a large publicly traded compound semiconductor company called EMCOR. I ran a business for Dover Corporation for about 5 years and then moved into private equity from there. And as I mentioned just before, at the end of 2019, I accepted a role to become the president and CEO of Nortek Control, and I've been here since January, and I tell you, it's been a great transition for me. Obviously, it's been a challenging year, not just for the markets that we address, just the economy in general with COVID, but one thing I will tell you, the undercurrents of the variety of markets that we address, we're in everything from security, home automation, audio, video, health and wellness. There's a lot of great tailwinds in these markets. Certainly benefits from technology and innovation, which is the DNA of this company. I'm really excited about where we can take this business.
It's interesting with your engineering background and the technical background, a lot of the successful companies in the space have been led by people who have that engineering expertise. So that kind of gives you the sense of maybe from top to bottom to be able to look at product development and some of the engineering aspects that Nortek can bring to the market. It's kind of a good perspective as CEO, don't you think?
Yeah, I think that's true with really any company. Obviously, I have a bit of an analytical mindset, but I really enjoy my passions in front of a customer, so I like that commercial engagement. And when I was with General Electric, I spent some time in their Six Sigma program, and a lot of the things that we look forward there is VOC, voice of the customer. So it's always fun to get the input from the customer and try and translate that into developing a product or a portfolio or a roadmap that will address some of those needs that the customer really brings to the organization. So I do like the kind of the analytical as well as the commercial balance. And for me, it's been beneficial, and trying to drive a lot of that here at Nortek Control.
Well, congratulations. Very interesting. Let's dig right into it. You mentioned this year like no other year that anybody's ever been through. Give us your sense of the state of the market right now.
Well, I would tell you right now, as far as we see it from our world, there was certainly some uncertainty in the March timeframe when a lot of this really started to become present domestically. Now, we got a little bit of an early read on it because we have a large operation in China. So in February, when our facilities there were being impacted by the virus in mainland China, a lot of our employees were quarantined, and they did a full quarantine over there. They were not allowed to leave their apartments or their homes. And at the time, my concern was, what is this going to do to supply chain domestically with China being shut down the better part of February? Not really thinking at the time that the virus itself would have such an impact domestically. But what we ultimately saw was the middle of March hit. We, like a lot of other companies, went through the shutdown. We shut down almost all of our facilities. Think of our 13 facilities. We shut down 11 of them. We tried to keep our distribution operation running and some of our domestic manufacturing facilities running. But by and large, we shut down most of the facilities. And for us, our business bottomed out from an order rate and from a customer engagement standpoint. We look at daily emails, calls, inbound inquiries from the market. And the second week of April was kind of the bottom point for us. And then very surprisingly, even through today, we have seen a very steady increase from that second week of April all the way now to this first week of October of the market recovering. And I'd say we're at or above pre-COVID levels now as far as market activity. And it's really across the board. Certainly, we could talk about some of the segments that we play in, but the control market, where we have a lot of home automation equipment, they were not really impacted a lot. And I would say a little bit later in the recovery cycle, the security market has been red hot right now. Obviously, a lot of the social unrest that's going on in the economy right now is probably driving some of that. I think early on there was a little bit more headwinds into that market recovering, because I think with consumers not wanting an installer in their home for 2-3 hours, wiring doors and windows and putting panels in, I think caused that market to slow down a little bit. But then with some of the other dynamics in the market, like I mentioned with the social unrest, it's really given, I think, an impetus to that market to really accelerate. And we've seen just tremendous strength over the last 60 days in our security segment.
What is your thoughts and outlook for 2021? You think it's going to continue?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. For me, as I said, we look at our business, and the business is very strong right now, surprisingly strong given what we see in the economy. We still know, in some cases, a lot of our customers still are not back in their facilities. I look around, even in our business park here, a lot of businesses are still closed. You look at the number of folks that are still claiming unemployment benefits every week. So while I don't feel like the economy is healthy because of where I see and when I talk to peers, but when I look at our business and I look at even the stock market, everything seems to be firing on all cylinders right now. I would say at this point, short of anything materially coming out of whether it's the election or something that's in the kind of the pan-global economic arena, we're going into 2021 with a lot of strength and a lot of tailwinds. So I would say at this point, short of anything that's unforeseeable right now, we're anticipating 2021 to be a very strong year if the remainder of this year continues like the last several months have been.
It really is a fascinating market. We see housing continuing to grow. I saw NAHB numbers that were, I think it was August and September, were 13-year highs, yep. Setting records in new home construction permits, new home sales, existing home sales. And it sounds very crass to even discuss it, but we know there's a lot of people suffering in the travel, tourism, hotel, restaurant spaces. But the demographic for the custom electronics industry and the residential side seems to be largely unaffected by this. And in fact, there seems to be this transference of money that maybe previously was going to those other entertainment areas back into the home. Is that what you're seeing out there on the resi side?
Well, certainly. I mean, at the end of the day, I believe in efficient markets. So I think there is a shift on dollars that are being spent. And if I look at our business, again, we address a lot of very diverse segments. The products that we have that are addressing what I would call the residential market, home security, garage operators, gate operators, home automation, speakers, things like that, that market has been very, very strong. And I don't know if it's because folks are staying at their home and they're using this opportunity to do upgrades. We're seeing unprecedented demand in our garage operator space right now. Again, as I mentioned earlier, our home automation market never really took a hit even during the heart of COVID. Granted, some of those installs are second and third homes, but again, I think people are spending a lot more time looking at improvements around the house now that they're having a little bit more time in their homes. Markets, though, on the flip side, where are more commercial in nature, we have a commercial access division. That one has not shown, I would say, the same recovery as we've seen in some of the other markets. So I'd say, Jason, to your point, the consumer and residential type applications and those products have fared very well, whereas I would say the more commercial and industrial products seem to be languishing a little bit. And I think that makes sense. As I mentioned, when you look around, you still see a lot of these facilities shut down. There's not a lot of CapEx that's being spent on commercial buildings right now when there's not a lot of employees working there.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how long the work from home trend continues on, if that's going to be kind of the long lasting trend from the workplace standpoint. So you touched on some of the key specific markets, AV, commercial, new construction, security. Um, what should integrators be doing right now to take advantage of this market condition, and what's Nortek doing to help them?
Well, I think before, if I'm an integrator, let's maybe just talk the security space. As I mentioned before, the residential side of the equation seems to be where the real strength is right now. So, integrators, I would be spending my time really addressing and marketing to that side of the market. We really see that's where a lot of the strength is. But I think what we're trying to do, and a lot of this is coming in part and parcel with the rebranding that we did a week or two ago. A lot of the products that we're rolling out are embedded with analytics. And I think when you get some of this hardware installed in your home, whether it's security, whether it's health and wellness or home automation, the more analytics and the more machine learning that you have embedded in this hardware, I think really starts to add some value. And I think it's an opportunity for integrators to market that way. You're not just selling a residential security system, or you're not just selling a home automation system. You're, in a lot of cases, you're installing a smart system that's providing some additional benefits to that user that you may not even have had a year, 2 years ago. So that to me is where I start to see a shift. And then playing on some of this, as I said, social unrest that's out there. There's a lot of people that want to protect the homeland. They want to protect their house and their families. And that's really, from my opinion, where a lot of the integrators are starting to shift their time.
So just to dig in on the analytics part a little bit more, I really see how that works well in the commercial space. For example, if the analytics can determine how many people are in a sports bar or a restaurant, and automatically adjust the volume of the multi-room audio system based for the ambient noise based on that. What are some applications for that analytic in the residential side, and how should an integrator be talking to his customer about that, and why it's so valuable to them?
Well, I think there's a lot of different ways you can look at it. You've got some levels of analytics that are available today, and then you have some others that are going to be available, more readily available 1, 2, 3 years down the road. As far as today, most of our hardware is embedded with facial recognition. You can arm, disarm an alarm system by having your face loaded into that particular panel. On the home automation side, there's things that you can do every from the time you pull up to the gate at your home, and it recognizes your license plate, and it knows that it can open up the gate and then tie to the home automation system that you have at your house to get temperature, lighting, shades, whatever you might have programmed in there. Or you walk in and it knows Jason's here and it has all of your preferences preloaded. That stuff is available today. There's other things on the commercial side. And I give our analytics team a lot of credit. 9 months ago, nobody had even heard of the word COVID. Now we've got 3 products that are COVID related. We've got a face mask detection software that you can embed in a security camera. So if you're at a big box retailer, a Walmart, Target, Best Buy, etc., anybody walking into that building, if a customer that is walking in is not wearing a mask, the system can alert. In a big facility, whether it's a shopping mall or an office like we're in, analytics that are embedded in those cameras can see where there's hot spots. We can put halos around employees or customers to see where people are getting within 6 feet of each other. Maybe you have to rearrange a particular room. The people counting, as you mentioned before, making sure you've got only a finite number of people coming in and out of a room or a building. Those products are available today, but when you look a little bit further down the road, take our health and wellness business, for instance. Telemedicine is becoming a huge thing right now. People do not want to go to a doctor's office or a hospital for obvious reasons related to the virus. There's things now that you can do. We call it aging in place, where maybe you're not quite ready for your mother or grandmother's not quite ready for a nursing home, but they're not totally able to live on their own. There's things that you can install, just like a security system in the home. You've got sensors on the appliances, sensors on some of the utilities. So you may not want to know every time your mother or grandmother opens the refrigerator or turns on the shower, but if neither of those events have happened in a day or two, analytics will say something's wrong here. Or if you've got RF sensors in, say, the bathroom, not a camera, but an RF sensor, and God forbid somebody falls in the shower, analytics can detect that and send an alert. You don't need to go to the doctor once a week or once a month to get your blood pressure. You can do glucose from home. You can do heart rate, blood pressure, temperature, weight, and all of those diagnostics can be transmitted directly to your healthcare provider. And a lot of the analytics that are embedded into these systems can detect when something is not right and alert something. Maybe the lights haven't been turned on in a day or two. So there's things that I think are very germane to that market beyond just security, beyond just home automation, that analytics play into. So when we talk about our business, we see an application for analytics and machine learning in every product we develop, every segment we address. And that's really what we're trying to drive here. I've spent a lot of time in the high-tech space. And for me, where we're most successful is when we can differentiate by innovation and technology. And that's exactly what we're doing here. This company has been rich in technology, and I think been able to really take that up a tier or two by driving analytics, which we made a very strategic acquisition in about 3 years ago with Intellivision up in the Bay Area, is something that we really want to be the backbone of this company.
You know what the beauty of that is? Integrators are known for having success by being very close to their customers. They have to ask them, for example, who shuts out the lights at night? Do you walk the home at night? Do you watch TV in bed? All those sorts of questions that help them fashion a really good system that meets the needs and the living application needs of their customer. So the analytics that you just described, I like it from a market condition standpoint because it's going to force the integrator to be even closer to his customer. And by being closer to the customer, that makes you invaluable. You're not dispensable. You are part of their daily routine because you are fashioning a system around their daily routine. So there's really a market potential element to it beyond just the brains of the system that I think is really intriguing.
Absolutely. And I think depending on the level of analytics that you deploy in the hardware, there's also that reoccurring revenue component, which I think would be very exciting for integrators as well. And we're trying to be able to offer that as well, whether it's just recording video for surveillance cameras or things that you have home automation wise, or it's some of this telemedicine applications. There's a lot of things that you can do from an RMR standpoint, video doorbells, for instance, and a lot of things that are going on with packages being delivered and being stolen. And there's things that we have just with our analytics where, we know when a package has been delivered, we know when a package is moved, and a lot of that can be recorded and noted. So you tie that in with facial recognition. There's a lot of value I think certain end users can get, certain consumers can get, both on the residential and on the commercial side.
One last question before we talk about the rebranding. You mentioned the supply chain issues that were happening back in the spring. Have those kind of all ironed themselves out now? Or I've heard from some vendors there's still backups in the ports, that some of these ships are waiting and waiting because everybody had to ramp up production so much. Is everything kind of evened out and integrators can expect that they're going to have access to all the product they need?
Jason, unfortunately, I wouldn't say that's totally the case just yet. Certainly things are better, but there is definitely a constraint coming out of primarily the Asia region, mainland China, in getting components back. We talk about, this V recovery, if you will, and it's really surpassed what components, the supply of components in China are able to deliver into the United States. So we're seeing it. I talk with a lot of customers out there, and they're seeing the same thing with other vendors outside of the products that we supply them. For us, we see a little bit of pain getting into even next month, November, and potentially into early December before things really start to recover. So it's not tragic, but I think right now, trying to address this unprecedented demand curve in conjunction with some supply chain constraints has not been helpful. The other thing that has not been assisting is the transit lanes for cargo ships between Asia and North America. They're jammed, they're flooded, there's demand there. So, air freighting is expensive, but even when you want to do that, there's been a delay. And most recently, a couple of the big carriers are hit with a cyber attack, that has taken down their system. So, I mean, it is in every way, shape, and form. It's been a triple storm this year. As I joke with our team here, I'm ready to put a big bow on 2020 and put it to bed and focus on 2021. But we definitely have a litany of challenges. It's certainly not dire from a supply chain standpoint, but I really wish we would have a little bit more free-flowing components coming our way to our production facilities in North America to really address this growing backlog. But because the demand for everybody has been so high, I think that's exacerbated the problem.
Good update. Thank you for that. All right. Recently, you rebranded as Nortek Control. Tell us a little bit about why you did that and how it's gone.
So first, you know, the company, we're in about 7 different markets. Security is one of our biggest, access control, audio, video, health and wellness, home automation, and then analytics. So we're addressing a wide variety of markets. And for me, I just thought it makes a little bit more sense to our broader customer base if we don't call out just one of the segments we address in the company name. Now, keep in mind, this is in no way, shape, or form means we're taking our emphasis away from security. It's still one of our largest segments. But when you're talking with your health and wellness customers, for instance, or you're talking with your audio video customers, when they're buying it from the parent that's got security, you know, as the name of the company, we thought, you know, it's a little bit too pigeonholed. So we wanted to be a little bit more agnostic around what we bring to the market, the segments that we address. And it was really just to be a little bit cleaner there. And obviously, if there's any acquisitions down the road, I think the parent being more around controls, because at the end of the day, there's controls in everything: security, audio, video, home automation, health and wellness. I mean, I think a lot of the segments that we talked about all have some level of controls. And I just thought it was simpler and cleaner and gives us an opportunity to get our messaging out just about who exactly Nortek Control is.
Now, ultimately, you have some really powerful brands at the brand level with 2GIG, Linear, Elan, Speakercraft, Proficient. Ultimately, those are the brands that are really going to be forward-facing to the integrator customer, and Nortek's going to be that technology entity behind. Is that the way you see it?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, I would say most of our customers, they know us as the specific brand they're dealing with, whether it's a Geffen customer for, you know, video equipment, or as you said, Speakercraft, Elan, 2GIG, Linear, Mighty Mule, Numera. They're dealing with those brands directly. So I thought the change at the parent level is really going to have a minimal impact in the market because most of our customers know us by our respective brands. Now, we're also taking that opportunity as we rebranded Nortek to also update the logos and the messaging for some of our other brands as well. You know, as we get into 2021, some of those logos, in my opinion, looked a little bit dated and weren't really getting the message of us being a technology and innovation company because we had some of the older logos. So we're doing things in kind of a two-step fashion. We wanted to change the logo for the company along with the name. We wanted to redo the website to really get the message around. And at the end of the day, this is a company that has and will continue to be based on innovation and technology. And with our acquisition of Intellivision several years ago and having our own internal machine learning or artificial intelligence capabilities, that is the backbone of the company. That is the DNA. We want to drive analytics in everything that we do. And we thought upgrading and making each logo more contemporary and having a cleaner parent with Nortek Control gives us that opportunity and that platform to do that.
Yeah, speaking of logo, just tell us a little bit about the new Nortek Control logo itself. It's kind of got a weird design to it. Tell us a little bit about the theme on that.
Yeah, well, you have to thank our marketing team for that. They're certainly more creative than me. I'm more of a ones and zeros guy. But what we wanted to really do was kind of take the lineage or the homage from the old N that we had in Nortek Security and Control, but really update it so that it looks a lot more contemporary and innovative. So when you look at the logo, it has the N, but it's almost got like an infinity loop or an oscilloscope type of a loop that I think really drives that innovation mentality that we're trying to drive here internally. I walk the halls every day, and any messaging that we have here, it's around technology, innovation, and voice of the customer. We want to know what are some of the pain points for the customer, And then how do we address that with technology? And I really want our customers and our vendors and our suppliers and everybody here thinking that every single day. And I think that's an ability for us to do that. And we got to be able to walk the walk. And having a new logo that is screaming innovation, I thought was a way to do that.
A lot of things happening at Nortek Control, a lot of new beginnings, a lot of exciting things to look forward to in 2021. So thank you so much for joining me, Chris, today on CE Pro's podcast.
Jason, thanks so much. Always a pleasure chatting with you.